I sit on the autism spectrum and I have anxiety and depression. At the time I was going to a Catholic school. At the time I wasn't diagnosed with Asperger's and dyslexia. So I had a nun from the Philippines, I think, and she had me miss lunch one day, and we used to bring in our wrestling action figures. I had brought in Macho Man Randy Savage, my Ric Flair action figure, and I was recreating WrestleMania 8 at the time. And she's like, "Who is that?" And I ended up explaining who Ric Flair was to this 60-year-old nun and what his gimmick was, and that he was a wheeling, dealing son of a gun, that he was a ladies' man, to this Filipino nun who had to survive a war to get over to the United States, to looking back at it, and I just turned 35 years old, and I was about 6 or 7 years old telling this woman who Ric Flair was and who Macho Man Randy Savage was, and she's like, "Oh, I know who Randy Savage is, the Slim Jim guy, yeah." I ended up passing the first grade and ended up not bringing in any wrestling action figures because it embarrassed the hell out of me.
Oh, man. Listen, kids will be kids. That's how the number of wrestling magazines I used to bring into my school is just as embarrassing as bringing in these action figures. I think I brought in the action figures too. But you had nothing to be embarrassed about, but I get it. I completely get it. Also, I love and I want you to know that there is a space here on this podcast for anyone on the spectrum or with Asperger's or autism or whatever it might be. I love the stories. I love that you feel you're able to call in and tell your story, and I get to picture you as this child in this exact scenario. So it's really fun for me, and I appreciate it. Also, Filipino 60-year-old nun. Doesn't get better than that. You got to say your Hail Marys. Just mixing in the world of professional wrestling with the world of Catholic school, which obviously I know nothing about, but I picture it in my head from the movies that I've seen. So I appreciate your phone call. I appreciate your story. And I appreciate your love for professional wrestling, even at such a young age. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go subscribe. And while you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.